Oh, hi. Okay. My name is Robin. My husband Daniel and I moved here to Idaho in January. So 2 months ago, like yesterday. Um, it's cold in Idaho. We've just kind of like been here and he goes to work and I hang out in our house. And it's not exactly the most exciting thing to do. If you're watching this, you probably know me, so you probably know that. But oh well, background anyway. I love Disney. I was supposed to go to Disney World next month and visit my family and friends. And I was really excited, but I don't get to do that now. And like I know that worse things are happening, but that was I don't get to do this thing. So instead, I am going to review movies on Disney Plus in alphabetical order. But I skipped the ones that started with numbers. I'm skipping animated ones. And if I watched it in the past year, I'm also not going to watch it because I've seen it. And I'm not going to watch like the nature films because I'm sure that people love those, but I don't love those. So the first movie I watched was The Absent-Minded Professor. It came out in 1961, I think. It was an hour and 37 minutes long, and it is all in black and white. I really like color, so that was weird, but it happened. The cover photo on Disney Plus is in color, but the movie is not. So that was kind of misleading. So it starts and you're like, oh, this title is accurate. Like this professor does not know what's going on. There's going to be spoilers in this. He misses his wedding 3 times. Like, I feel like once you miss it one time, you're done. But Betsy, his fiance / ex-fiance, waited 3 times. So that was ridiculous. It also starts with like this love triangle thing. There's a guy named Shelby that Betsy kind of likes. Mostly he likes her. I don't like Shelby. He's a jerk. He roots for the rival college team. Basketball is the big sport in this. And the professor works at a college that Betsy also works at. So Betsy breaks up with him because she's not doing this. So we move on. The professor is sad, but like he'd made this great discovery. He calls it flubber. It's like floating rubber. So he's like, Betsy, this great thing. And Betsy does not care because 3 times. So she's done. So we move on. He like shows up on Betsy and Shelby's date at the basketball game, and their team is losing because their star player is out because the professor failed him because the kid didn't do his work and didn't want extra credit. So that's on the kid. Whatever. So he goes to the game and he puts flubber on the player's shoes at halftime, and then they crush it. They're like, a guy shoots the basketball, the basketball goes in the basket, and then the guy goes in the basket too because he bounced so high. Like crazy stuff. He has a flying car. The professor does, so that's a pretty cool thing. He takes his dog. I love his dog. His dog is a great actor. He takes his dog in the flying car. They go upside down and they don't fly out. Like they don't have seatbelts on. They just don't fly out. That's fun. Remember that kid that the professor failed? Well, his dad is a businessman, I guess, and he loaned the school a lot of money. The school didn't pay the money back. So he kind of like started out as a jerk the first time you meet him. He's just not very nice. And then he finds out about the professor's invention, and he tries to blackmail the professor into giving him the invention so they can like blackmail the government. It's a weird time. And then the professor's like, I'll just call the president because you can do that in 1961. Just call the president. So he kind of does. He goes through a bunch of offices in DC, eventually like the Department of Agriculture, and he has no use for it in agriculture. But he thinks that everyone can use it because it's a great invention. And then the Department of Defense is like, nah, we're good. And then 3 different men show up to visit him, see this invention. They're like, it's super cool. But remember that businessman, the jerk? He switched the cars. He has like a Model T, and the businessman steals his car and leaves a different car. So when the professor opens it, there's like a squirrel that jumps out and a hamster, a gerbil, or a large rodent running in a spinny wheel. So those 3 men from the Department of Defense think he's crazy. So they leave. But then they figure it out. And so then his maybe ex-fiance, but maybe they're still engaged. I don't know. Betsy like believes him. Don't know why, but she does. And so they break into the businessman's warehouse and they get the car back eventually. But first, they like trick the businessman. They're like, oh, yeah, it's fun. It's great. And they have him try on flubber shoes and he doesn't know how to stop. So he just bounces and bounces, and you get higher and higher because that's not how things work, but that's how flubber works. So he's like bouncing so high. Somebody theorizes that by 7 p.m. he will be in space. The whole town is there watching him, and the kid, the jock kid, the best basketball player somehow, is like calling all of his friends to come over and watch, and the whole town is just staring at him. And they bring one of those firefighter trampoline things, and that's not going to work. And they told him to sit when he came down. Did he sit? No. He kept jumping. So he bounced through the trampoline, kept going. But then that son, who I think his name is Biff, but I'm really not sure, calls the football team in. And so the football team dog piles on him. And it's really, really funny. And the dad hates it, but he stops. So, like, really, it worked out. So, anyway, back to the professor. The professor and Betsy are in the flying car, and they're just going to fly to DC because that'll work. It doesn't. Because people are like, oh, there's an unidentified flying object in the sky. And people fly up there and see that it's a Model T. But they don't believe that. But it is a Model T. It's the professor and Betsy. So finally, they land. Well, no, they don't land. People know it's him, and they're like arguing. And then they're like, oh, it's fine. But eventually, they do come down. Betsy's not the smartest. Like, don't get me wrong. I love Betsy. She's a little too loyal, but I love her. But like, the professor was like, oh, there's Jefferson's monument. And Betsy said, oh, you mean Monticello? No. Monticello is the house. And it's not in DC. So that's fun. Yeah. So they were gonna shoot the professor and Betsy down. And the general was like, they're in session in Congress. I don't care. That's fine. But somebody was like, oh, we just put a new front on the Congress building. And so they don't shoot them down. That was funny. Unfortunate. Very tragic, but funny. But they didn't. They came down. It was fun. And then Betsy and the professor get married. It was their 4th try. Four times that they tried to get married. And finally, it worked. They said, I do 2 times in the ceremony. Like one of them did. I don't actually remember which one, but one of them did. And now they're finally married. Are they going to fly off? They do. They fly off into the sunset. But not really. It's a black and white movie. They just fly off and we're happy. The end. So, while I watched this movie, I had Daniel like in the room, so he kind of watched the movie. So he gave it a solid 3. Had a couple of funny moments. I am rating plot, characters overall because I like rating scales. So I gave the plot a 6 out of 10. It was really funny-ish, I guess. I don't know. It was funny, but also like the characters. Meh. Characters, I gave a 2 out of 10 because almost all of them annoyed me. I liked the dog. I liked the housekeeper. And you didn't get to see either of them very much. Like the professor was just so absent-minded that it annoyed me. And I know that's the name of the movie. Still annoyed me. Overall, I gave it a 3 out of 10 because almost all of the characters annoyed me. Like, would I watch it again in 20 years? Yeah. Or like if I was taking a film class. It was fun. Like you should watch it once. It was a movie that I watched. Yeah. So, um, I'm going to review a movie every day. Feel free to watch it. If not, like I'm going to do it anyway because it entertains me, but it would make me very happy if you did. Okay. Bye.